I was planning to do a video just with a few news updates, namely because a number of fighters and fights that I've been mentioning in previous videos have had alterations or been called off, that sort of thing. So I thought it'd be worth doing a quick video to summarise what's going on. I'm going to split this into three parts. First, I'm going to touch on a bit of news involving a promoter. Second, I'm going to focus on fights off, and third, I'm going to focus on people retiring from the sport, all of which have been pretty busy topics this week. First bit of news I wanted to discuss in brief was Mick Hennessey and seemingly some discontent within his camp. Let me start off by saying I'm a big fan of Mick Hennessey. I like what he's doing by bringing boxing to Channel 5. I think he's quite a smart operator. He's picked a stable of fighters who are very friendly towards the general public and to the sort of person who tunes into Channel 5 on a Saturday night. They're not necessarily the the biggest boxers amongst the boxing hardcore who maybe subscribe to Box Nation, but he knows his audience and he's done a good job. I mean, Tyson Fury's extremely fan friendly, the way he talks, the size of him, his story, the fact that he's a 6'9" gypsy with a massive mouth. Basically, he's a very fan friendly bloke. You've got Chris Eubank Jr. Obviously, the surname he brings with him is going to get interest. James degale brings that Olympic gold medal with him. He's done a good job of attracting fighters who will be interesting to the casual fan, even more so than the boxing hardcore, so we say. And I certainly like his intention of bringing back boxing to Channel 5. I think he's done a very good job with Tyson Fury, and I do think it's worth mentioning that all three of those fighters, none of them have had a loss since they've been with Hennessey, so he's doing a good job of moving them up the rankings and not getting them beat. Having said that, there is some question over, whether the tactics he's used have not helped them secure world title slots because they've been in with too easy opposition and haven't moved forward fast enough. But anyway, the news is that firstly, Chris Eubank Jr. has parted ways with him. He posted some comments suggesting he was very upset before the fight. He'd been given 1 day's notice for the fight. He was very angry with the way only 2 rounds of his fight were sown in comparison to Irfan Iqbal, who's more of an earlier stages of his career fighter who got sown from the start. So Eubank Jr. seemed very frustrated with that. He seemed very frustrated with the inactivity and frustrated with the lack of notice for his fight. I do wonder whether he has been a victim of knock-on effects from the Haye v Fury situation. Maybe he was hoping for a very glamorous fight on their undercards, and both times it's been called off, he's been negatively affected by that, and maybe he's decided he wants things to be in his own control and get away from Hennessey, not be so reliant on appearing on these big undercards and try and be the star of his own show. It's disappointing for Mick, because I think Mick was doing a decent job of building him, and I think he's a fighter with some potential who could have added to Hennessey's stable in the long run. But I don't see Eubank Jr. as good a middleweight as some of the guys we've got in this country at present. It's a really live division, with the likes of Murray, Barker, Macklin, Billy Joe Saunders, etc. So that's a bit of an interesting one, really. We'll have to see where he goes from now, but hopefully the fact he's moved away will mean that he can appear as an opponent on Sky, on Box Nation, these things, and hopefully that could set up some big fights for him in 2014. At the same time as this, James degale has made it very clear he's quite discontented with his relationship with Mick Hennessey. He's been very disappointed by his inactivity. He's publicly questioned whether Mick Hennessey has the ability to deliver him the opponents necessary to achieve a title shot. He's seemingly put an ultimatum on Hennessey. He said in an interview with IFL TV, if Mick can't sort it in 2014, we'll part ways. He's really putting the pressure on Hennessey. I wonder if it's because he wants to be the star of the show, being that Olympic gold medalist, and again, maybe he's having a bit of a knock-on effect of Tyson Fury being the main man at that end. Maybe he's just annoyed at his inactivity, and he thinks Hennessey is doing a better job, not the best job. But he went further than that. He didn't just question, the future. He also made some comments about their relationship, which was possibly not the most professional of James. I mean, he's made comments that they never speak on the phone, they're not very close, it's all done via email. He said that he didn't really feel like he knew Mick very well. It was all, yeah, it was a bit bitchy, and it suggested some quite strong discontent for him. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I'd be interested if anyone's got any insight as to why people are upset with Mick Hennessey. Is it just the lack of activity, or is it more to do with Tyson Fury being his main man and all eyes being on Tyson at this point? But either way, Eubank Jr. has left. Degale looks like he may follow him shortly, or he's certainly hinting that that could be the way. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention, an interesting one to watch. It is just worth saying that, you know, Hennessy's other stable, you know, he's got Irfan Iqbal, he's got Hughie Fury, you know, these are good prospects, but they're not necessarily at the level of a, you know, a degale or a Eubank Jr. I mean, Eubank Jr. probably looking for titles, British title level fights next year. degale obviously looking to move to world level, and it would be a bit of a loss from Mick Hennessey. The only other rumour I've heard is that he's looking to sign other fighters, so I heard a rumour maybe Eddie Chambers. We'll have to see. Maybe there's something going on behind the scenes that I don't know about, firmed up. That's you know, that's affecting this discontent we're seeing from degale and Eubank Jr. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. Second thing, as I said, was fights being off. There's a number of fights off. Kevin Johnson, Odlanair Solis is off. Johnson was very angry. He said it was due to Solis not being in shape, being overweight, etc., being unfit, and not having a good training camp. It's impossible to know how true that is. Either way, it's a shame that the fight's off. It would have been an interesting matchup. Would have been a good test for Solis, and a win there would have you know, put him solidly back in the top 15 where he belongs. So I'm not sure what's gone on there. Hopefully they can get that rescheduled. I think that would be a good fight for Solis, and keep him going in the right direction. I think one thing that's key for Solis is he needs to remain active. So that's off. Martin Murray is off the undercard for the weekend's Frotz versus Groves bill. He's pulled out due to a flu virus. Very disappointing for Martin. You know, obviously he wants to be staying as active as possible to secure a title shot in 2014. And the fact that it's off is not going to help him. Must be gutting for him. I know he's had a lot of issues. He's had his Australia fight off, etc. So very, very difficult times, and hopefully he can get back in as soon as possible. Anthony Joshua is also off the card due to a niggle in his shoulder. As it stands, I believe he's still going ahead to fight December the 14th for the XL against Dorian Darts, but his fight against Hector Villa, former Derek Chisora victim, is cancelled. So we'll have to see if he's still coming in to fight December the 14th. So that's fights off. I think the other one to mention, not a fight off but related, is the Derek Chisora matchup on the Warren card on November the 30th. Derek's opponent for that fight, Matteo Madungo, has pulled out due to injury. Derek will now go in against Andre Parla, heavyweight. I think he's something like 32 wins, 22 knockouts and 3 losses. He's lost against the likes of Konstantin Aretz, Dennis Boystov. He's been knocked out twice, so he's a very beatable opponent, but he's got a winning record, as I say, 32 wins. He's knocked out 22 opponents, so he carries a bit of danger with him. I don't believe he's like a top-class fighter, but it's one that Derek should have to be on top form for, and it'd be interesting to see how it transpires. So that's still on, but rescheduled. Final thing I wanted to talk about in this video is people retiring. Edmund Gerber has retired following his loss to Derek Chisora. Understandable, really. I guess his loss to Sprott and his loss to Chisora suggests he's never going to be a top flight heavyweight, and I guess if he's got other things to fall back on, why spend his life getting beaten up? I mean, he's had his fights against journeymen, he's had that sort of padded record stage, and he's obviously failed when he's tried to move up a level, so fair play to him. It's the sensible decision, and it's probably a decision that more guys should be making when they get found out, like Gerber's been found out. I'm going to do a video later on David Haye, the whole situation there, and my analysis. David Haye looks like he's going to retire because of this shoulder injury. Doctors have advised him to, so as I said, there's a video coming on that. I guess the sensational bit of news is Tyson Fury has announced his retirement via Twitter. Now, with Tyson Fury on Twitter, there's always a risk. Has he been hacked? Is he having a laugh? You know, what's actually going on with Tyson? It's very hard to predict. My instinct is that we haven't seen the last of him. He's too young. there's too much money out there for him, and his career is too unfulfilled at this point to resign. Not resign, to retire. So I think it's unlikely, but Fury has announced his retirement. So I've got a video coming on David Haye, the whole situation there. I'm also going to do a separate video on Tyson Fury. Where does he go from here, etc. So keep your eyes on that one. But as I say, this was just a sort of video on news, just with a few updates and bulletins, because as I say, a few of my previous videos have been affected by some of these goings on. Thanks very much for watching. Leave your comments below. Bye now.